Well, Jason, what do you think? Should we get this party started?
I say absolutely.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Doug Berg, the founder and chief matcher of Match 2. I've been a longtime builder of innovation technology, and I'm joined by Jason Pistulka. I hope I'm saying that correctly,
Hmm.
Jason.
Yep.
But we thought you'd enjoy this presentation that we've called the Patient First Care Changed Healthcare and Candidate First Recruiting Will Too. So we'll get into it here. Like I'd mentioned, I'm Doug Berg, founder and chief master. I've also founded companies like Jobs to Web. For any of you that bought our or used our technology way back in the I used to say the 90s, but like it was really the 2000s. And that company was acquired by SAP, and it's still in production today, which is great. And I also started Zap Info, which was acquired by Indeed, along with techies.com, which was an IT job board. But I've helped to design and deploy probably 200 companies end-to-end global recruiting strategy. So I had a lot of great experience with that. Jason, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and your background as a part of getting started.
Yeah. Jason Pistulka. I work as both a strategic advisor and to tech companies and consultant into end users, largely in the talent acquisition space, but broader also into HR. And I've worked in corporate HR in various aspects, 25 plus years. My last role was with HCA Healthcare, and I drove recruitment operations there, where we hired as many as over 100,000 people a year. So glad to be here.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people, man. So look, me, Elaine, and Darren, in starting Match 2, wanted to try to solve what we kind of call the big problem in the industry, which is the recruiting black hole problem. And we've even gotten support by some of the top industry analysts like Josh Bersin, who's an advisor to the business and an evangelist for us. But he really feels strongly that Match 2 is solving kind of a problem AI alone can't fix in the industry, which is finally delivering a consumer grade, candidate transparent, connected type of a strategy that allows candidates maybe for the first time to be active participants and fully integrated into a bidirectional, transparent relationship. So they're not just buried inside of Indeed or out on LinkedIn, right? And being one time applicant joiners of our ATS system, we're really trying to build kind of almost like the Facebook marketplace experience as a part of the overall strategy. And as AI kind of comes to the market, right, there's all kinds of fun and new problems that are coming up with it. I know, Jason, you wanted to talk quickly
Yeah.
out of the gate about like one of the biggest problems, which is these
Yeah.
lawsuits. So,
AI is like the biggest strategic inflection point we've ever seen in history of probably anything, absent maybe the PC. And we're very familiar with the legal concerns that have existed out there with legal departments and companies, but then the legal realities with the known lawsuits that are out there again today against Workday and now Eightfold. But recently found this. Actually, it was uh, Chad from Chad and Cheese that posted this. This is a law firm that's out there saying anybody who's applied from any of these platforms that they want to hear from you because they think that you have potential for class action status, or any other platform that you know of that used AI. So they're fishing really broadly, trying to find more companies that they can sweep up into some of these AI lawsuits.
amazing.
So, when you think about some of the biggest issues, and I hear, and we see so much of this right now on LinkedIn, where recruiters are just completely overloaded with applicants, and it's frustrating for the applicants too when they see on LinkedIn that over 1,000 people have applied for this job. So candidates are extremely frustrated because they know they're going into a pool that's just full of fish. We know the lawsuits on top of it, which largely are based on that same candidate frustration, because the candidates don't know what's happening in the AI, and so they think they're being unfairly selected out of the funnel, or at least inaccurately selected out of the funnel. And then the other challenge for so many companies is you're stuck with the tech stack that you have. So you want to do AI, you'd like to do something bigger, but almost everything that you want to do requires a tech stack gutting. And we all know, mostly in the larger your organization is, the time and effort to stand up a tech stack is extensive.
Mm.
And so gutting a tech stack is not only very difficult to do, but nearly impossible to get approval to do.
Yeah, and look, I think we're in an interesting era where, beyond AI, the platforms at least now are literally letting employers start using their APIs. They're not gatekeeping their APIs, which creates the ability for a really nice data exchange to happen. And they all have candidate-facing applications. I think Paradox and some of the conversational systems have really forced the need for them to be able to let companies deploy things that their candidates can utilize that really enhance and make a better experience. And so those two kind of things together allow you to really kind of experiment and deploy some new capabilities without having to change your entire ATS and CRM application. So Jason, I know you wanted to chat because you've gotten to know us a little bit. Like what are some of your thoughts about like how Match 2 is different than maybe the litany of other things you've seen in the market so far?
Yeah, I think definitely one of the things that you'll see is you're able to capture lots of candidates that are coming to your site today, but they're not applying. So imagine if you could capture every person who did a search on your site but didn't apply. And we know that's a huge number of people. Um, Getting the candidates to the best job pre-apply. So in all industries, whether I was doing IT recruiting or healthcare recruiting, we always were finding somebody who applied for this job. They're not really good for this. And hopefully a recruiter remembered or shared that candidate to the right requisition or the right recruiter. But if we can actually do that up front accurately, so we don't have to rely on recruiters to be able to do that. Recruiters that are overloaded, recruiters that don't know every other open rec out there, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be poorly done at best, even if recruiters really apply themselves to it. And then really being targeted on our engagement. So if somebody comes back to our site again and we actually know that this now person, they're a nurse, that this is Doug, and we can start doing targeted engagement for them on the way back. And where we're not scoring it with the AI and rankings that are so prevalent right now in these lawsuits. How can we be transparent about this where the system's not using the AI to make those decisions in a black box?
Yeah, yeah, amazing. How some of those things can really make a big difference. So, look, when Elaine and us at Match 2 looked at the industry, and I've been on the job board side, I've been on the corporate side, I'm still astonished at how fragmented the entire talent ecosystem is. And to your point, Jason, candidates are frustrated. They're starting from scratch on every career site. They don't have a universal profile. They don't go back and log into systems after they apply. The ghosting issue is real. Same problems are happening on the employer side. We're spending money to rebuy the same candidates over and over again, even though they're in our system. We're getting flooded with noise and fake and bot applies, and just a lot of non-qualified or non-desired applicants. And even after people apply, we have no idea where they went. We don't know what our win-loss rates are. We don't know why people took jobs with other companies. And even the hiring platforms have the same frustrations. And with all the AI development they're going to do, you can't fix this problem between these parties because it's an infrastructure problem. It's not an AI problem. So at Match 2, we thought, well, let's try to solve this by bringing everyone together. Let's create a connected talent solution where using the existing APIs of every CRM and every ATS, let's get a job feed and let's provide companies and candidates this ability to connect with each other. So on the candidate side, they can register with MyMatch2. They can build their universal profile just like their LinkedIn profile. And now they can start favoriting companies and connecting to companies. So a lot of us have this join our talent community concept out there. I don't know that candidates know what that means, but they certainly know what following and favoriting a company is. And they certainly know and love that you could use my profile and preferences to instantly personalize experiences and connect my data and let me be in control, if you will, or a participant of what CRMs I'm in, what ATSs I'm in, and to do ongoing updates. Like I'm on the market, I'm off the market. I don't need your campaigns and your emails if I'm off the market. So we really wanted to create more of a Facebook marketplace, like a experience between candidates and companies. And you'll see how that allows you to basically treat your candidates as the first party experience that you're after. Because today in a lot of recruiting, let's be honest, it's job first recruiting. It's, hey, come to our career site. Every site is search and find a job. And if you find a job, great, apply for the job. And that's how we start to build a relationship, maybe with the candidate. Otherwise, we just capture them, transact them, process them, and then we don't re-engage with them. And so a part of what we wanted to do is to say, instead of just job search being this dominant thing on your career site where candidates are seeing either no jobs or too many jobs, why don't we start with the candidate first? And instead of just this join our talent community so we can email you jobs, let's really offer a bunch of value to the candidate. Let's help them optimize their application. Let's help personalize their experience. Let's make sure they're matching to the best possible job. Let's offer the ability for them to connect with our recruiters, even if they don't apply. Let's re-engage them every time future jobs come up. And most importantly, let's stay connected with the candidate. So as they're progressing, changing employers, adding skills, certifications, we have a direct ability to communicate those things with each other. And so that's at the heart of the promise that you can start to provide when you deliver a candidate first experience. And so most candidates have a most recent resume that they can just literally pop in. And the beauty of AI is it can then literally in just seconds take that full resume of the candidate and show them exactly which jobs they're a match for and why. Because a lot of the times with just keyword searching, so many things can get lost in the mix. And you're calling things RN, they're calling it registered nurse. The acronym soup is big. But we think that this really and more robustly allows the candidate to just get served those 3 to 5 or 6 jobs that are a great match. And you can see this is the actual interaction experience where the candidate can then start to see exactly what's missing from their profile and abilities and associate and connect those with their real resume as to why they did have a certain thing. They might have just forgot to put it on the resume. I know, Jason, you had some thoughts about how this is different too.
This is to me truly what sets this apart from any other matching technology that I've seen out there. The problem that so many legal departments have and candidates have is when you're making inferences from their resume and acting on inferences. What we're doing here is we're actually looking at the resume. We're saying if this certain skill or qualification is needed, we believe it's on your resume, green, or we believe it's missing, not, and we show it on the side, allowing the candidate at that point to verify the things that we said were there. And then if there's something that we say isn't there, that's missing, that's hurting their match, and they say, I actually have that experience. I have experience, writing SQL code or doing whatever it may be, EEOC investigations. They can click on that and they can actually update and tell you where that experience actually happened. So if you think about what this is really doing, this is doing what great agencies have done forever. It's so frustrating as a recruiting leader that you've sent a resume over to a hiring manager and they said no to the candidate, and some agency rewrites the resume and makes sure that it has all the right things in it, and suddenly you're paying a $20,000 fee to a firm because they updated the resume better to match the job, making it real. This is doing this real time, involving the candidate in it, so the candidate 100% understands why they are not a conversation or a match for this. And that takes that frustration away from the candidate, but also allows you to make sure that that updated resume with all that information is being presented as you present that candidate.
Yeah, and what's neat about this is not only is this a great inclusive and transparent experience on your career site, it sits right on top of your current application process, but then you actually deliver a smart application. So what you're seeing now is what the new cover letter will be, right? It actually shows you exactly how the candidate self-validated their experience against the requirements. And then there's like an AI report at the bottom that shows exactly why the candidate was a match based upon how the AI matching put this all together. Once they're done, candidate hits submit, we write the application in, and then deliver this entire resume, report, and rationale report. So the recruiters don't have to read every resume like a snowflake. They can instantly see exactly why the candidates are a great fit. And the delivery of all of this data and information is right into your ATS and right into your CRM. So there's no other place that they need to go. And by the way, we give the candidate a copy of this report while they apply. So if and when the recruiter and candidate actually do connect, they're looking at the same data and information. So So the way this shows up on your site, just so everybody understands, is we give you a script and the script drops in. It's like a Google a tag or analytics script, and it goes on any site. So anything from Aperture to Workday, I like to say. And basically, once you do this, it can add this ability to let you have candidates connect with you or follow your career site. That's what puts them into your database. You can also add this ability to let people match to jobs now. So that would run either alongside or in replacing, if you want to, your job search process. And we also have these neat little pop hover over types of things that can be on any page. And you can even put these on your college recruiting, military recruiting pages to act like the way that you can initiate these connection points. It's the connect with technology, I call it, instead of apply with technology. And this just really is what starts that process. And once the candidate updates their information, this is where the AI really powerfully understands all the acronyms in the healthcare industry. And so instead of just looking for nurse jobs where I found 500, maybe I've got these very specific areas of expertise that then match up with the requisitions that delivers me to that really best match for me. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah. So Doug, I just want to make sure this isn't missed here now. So if I don't have a search button, instead, which you could have both, but right, if I had everybody go through the match, unlike a search where I can come in and I can search and leave, and I'm completely anonymous to you. If I do match, look at jobs and leave, what am I left with? What do you have now as the company that you wouldn't have had if you just had the search?
Yeah, nothing.
So now with match two, what do I have and where do I have it?
You have the candidate's profile. You have them matching themselves against a field of requisitions that gives you a quality quotient or an intelligence signal. And whether or not they apply or don't apply, you have the ability to see and engage with these people.
All written back into my CRM where I have all that information captured on all those people that tried to match themselves to a job that I would not have had in search. I mean, to
And
me,
the
that's
beauty
one.
is it's also linked like a Google Doc to the candidate. So if the candidate then updates a skill or adds a cert 6 months from now or 9 months from now, guess what? They say, I want my favorite employers to know I've got an update. And that also gets synced into my CRM. So it
I mean,
puts it perpetual
that's
up.
huge. So,
Yes,
so
it
what I
takes it.
love about that again, Doug, though, is we're not going out and scraping social information unbeknownst to the candidate and
Yes,
updating their profile. They're pushing it to us through this.
that's exactly right. They
I
are compliant participants.
mean, I literally get a chill here because I've fought with legal departments so much, right? So first thing, we're not inferring anything. The candidate's confirming everything. We're passing over a modified resume, but we're also including the whole original resume unmodified. And I say that's a big deal because legal departments don't like you rewriting a resume. They want to know what the candidate actually submitted. So we get the best of both worlds there. And then we get social updating that's happening, but being pushed to us by the candidate instead of us attempting to scrape and infer from social media outside.
That's right. And it's experiential data and it's situational data as well, right? So the candidate can say, I'm on the market now, or I'm not on the market, or I've taken a position. So think about how many emails and chasing events that recruiters are not going to have to do because the candidate can self-signal that they're on or not on the market.
I got one more thing, and maybe hitting a future slide, but I'm just so excited about this. If if I'm a candidate and I'm out on LinkedIn and I like a company, what's it do, Doug?
So we have the ability for the candidate to have a Chrome extension that when they're a Match 2 user, that when they like a company, it says, you great, you like them on LinkedIn. Would you also like to link with them directly? So it can actually run an interception, Jason, so that you're literally directly connecting to candidates no matter where they're at. Your Indeed company page, your ZipRecruiter page, your Facebook page. We're really trying to do everything we can so that we build that direct talent network between the candidates and the companies.
Well, imagine all of that social media stuff that you're doing out there in LinkedIn and Snapchat or wherever you're doing it, and you're wanting to get people to follow you. And how do you convert that actually into traffic? And what you're telling me is you funnel that back into their Match 2 profile. So now that following comes back into the place where they seek employment.
That's exactly right. And a part of the coaching we give to the employers, even when they're doing outbound sourcing activity, Jason, because what do recruiters do today when you're on LinkedIn and you're doing a search and you're trying to fill a rec, right? Your message to the candidate is, hey, you look great for a rec I'm trying to fill. Are you looking now or not? Well, at least 60%, 70% are going to say, I'm not looking, I'm not a fit, no thanks. Some of them will. Obviously, the odds are okay. But imagine if you changed that conversation from, I have a rec I'm trying to fill, are you interested in transacting today, to, I love your profile, we hire people like you a lot, would you like to favorite and connect to our company so that I can have a career-long opportunity to share why and how you'd be a great fit for jobs over the next couple of years. Almost 80% of people will say, yes, I'd like to connect and follow, which then gives you a much bigger return on investment with how you just switch a little bit how your recruiters are reaching out to people and what you're asking them to do in the marketplace.
So all that's really cool when it comes to getting people matched to the right jobs, mostly in these perishable skills, as I like to call them. Let's get them as close to the right job that we can get them hired on. Recruiters don't have to do it. Get those difficult candidates. But on the opposite side, we have places where we're overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed in the white collar space now, IT jobs. I think anybody on here, if you have revenue cycle people who are work from home, I mean, sometimes you're getting if you're shutting those recs down in 24 hours, you might be getting 500 applications. Can we talk some about how the matching percentages actually affects candidate behavior and whether they apply or not?
Yeah, this is great. So all of you know there's a plethora of acronym soup, military code. The AI does a brilliant job of decoding this, and it took your best recruiters' brains and it said, hey, we're going to actually figure out the contextual, rational mapping between these. But what's great about this is when you get the match reports, it shows you all of the logic it used to help the candidate get matched, as well as the recruiter once they receive it. But what we learned, Jason, in some of our first healthcare customers is if you actually help the candidate, instead of just, hey, data enter your resume and apply, we literally will sit with you and show you why you are or why you aren't a fit. And what we have found with thousands of candidates is when you actually show them they're not a good match for a job, they won't apply. They'll literally self opt out. So they know in their brain that they're not a good fit for a particular job, and they'll either find a different one or they'll go, hey, they'll alert me when a good one comes up. And so what's interesting is when we looked at a field of nurse specific candidates who used matching, the ones that were 40% or less match results, only 4% went on to apply. So 96% didn't apply. Imagine how much noise that brings down in your recruiting applications. And when you look at the ones that were 75% or better, 28 and 30% applied. Now that's great news, but it also shows a huge challenge, which is that over 70% of really qualified people didn't apply.
But it's a huge challenge that you can affect now because that 72% got written into my CRM. I know they're a good match. I know who they are, and I have various ways that I can now chase them.
That's exactly right. One of the things I've found throughout all the years, and by the way, the beauty of matching is we're not going to even show jobs that aren't a good fit for people through the discovery process. So this cuts down the noise as well. But for those candidates that are a great match, the 80% or more, right, that didn't apply, like you said, candidates don't apply for a lot of reasons. One of the things we found as we watched the matching is, Jason, guess what time the top time a nurse goes and does career searches on career sites? It's Wednesday at 1 p.m. So they're in a break. Something pissed them off or whatever you want to call it. So they're out looking around at jobs, but they don't have time to apply. So in their mind, they're thinking, I'll do it tonight. I'll do it on Saturday. Tonight, the kids got sick. Saturday, I got busy with family things. Or maybe they're like, hey, I don't like to put my resume to these called by recruiters a lot. And so I'm not going to apply into the ATS because all I do is get an instant rejection, or I have to wait to update my resume. I've got some new stuff on it. So all of these stalling reasons can now be, like you said, completely dealt with, and we can build engagement strategies. Because I think you were saying, Jason, like Google and Facebook, all of these big marketing companies are doing this already in their marketing world.
Absolutely. I mean, we've all gone out and looked at something on Facebook or someplace, and before you know it, they're remarketing to us not only that, but similar ones. Obviously, it works and works very effectively. My pocketbook shows it. So, there's no reason to believe that that same consumer preference that we've seen on the buying side wouldn't be a candidate preference on the hiring side.
That's right. But again, when you start with the candidate first, we capture and connect with them. We now know how they are matching against our jobs and that they're highly qualified. You can kind of see here, here's a list of we can see if they applied or didn't apply. But now our ability to either engage the recruiters using what we call automated passive candidate recruiting, where we can say, look, if a passive candidate that visited the site who's a 75% match or better, after 2 days, if they didn't apply for a job, send the recruiter a note of here's the 5 or 6 candidates that were a great match for your recs. Here's a link to their LinkedIn. Here's their email. You go ahead and reach out to them and do a proactive engagement with those people.
But in theory, you could set that percentage at any level you wanted, right? Depending
That's
on what your
correct.
candidates look like. But you could also almost action anything against him. I mean, you could say, you could, for if it's, let's just say it's a super job, a job that's so hard to find, and that person applies and they're literally 90% and above. Could you allow them to directly text the recruiter or email the recruiter or some automated action? Let me schedule right away with the recruiter. What kinds
That's
of things
exactly
else can you leverage?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jason. So we can either build this into the UX. So in that matching interface that we showed where they're doing matching, if the candidate clicks apply and you want to set rules up that says, hey, I want to meet the recruiter, I want to schedule an interview now. These are things Paradox and chatbots have been doing really well. We just make it so that they can live on any ATS or any career site as a part of this kind of new experience. And so whether it's post-visit retargeting, in visit engagement scenarios that you want to build, it's almost unlimited the kind of experimentation you can do.
So how do I do that though? Let's say I have a Paradox or a Sense that I'm using for scheduling and texting. Now I'm going to have your texting service and your scheduling service and theirs and run both of them. How's that work?
Yeah. So what's interesting, Jason, is there's certain audiences we think that like doing chat, right? And yet, unfortunately, there's a lot of candidates that don't like doing chat. The big difference is with chat, I got to get to know your name. I got to get your email address. I got to know what your job is. With Match 2, we already know who the candidate is and we know what their profile and preferences are. So our ability to both match them to jobs as well as to know what their quality quotient is and then move them directly into an experience where either on my mobile phone or on my computer, it instantly shows the recruiter's Calendly or something. So we're reusing and literally helping to drive better, richer, qualified candidates into your existing infrastructure as opposed to other places.
So into our existing infrastructure. So if I'm using Sense for scheduling and texting, you will use Sense scheduling and
We
Sense
hand it right
texting, and
off.
you're just going to hook into their API.
That's exactly right. Whatever you want the handoff to be for that quality quotient, our ability to hand that and pass that in so that the rest of your tech stack can get a bigger ROI is exactly what we're trying to do.
So it looks like to me you took all your previous company experience at integrating with every platform and understanding APIs, and you made this thing as like an API Jedi, right? That can hook into all these different things so it can basically seamlessly and easily set in my current tech stack.
That's exactly right. We wanted to give the candidate their own agentic ability, right? So if I come down and I look at one of your jobs and I say I'm interested in the job, it knows that I'm a match for most of it, and maybe I can say I want to do this. But now, if you want, you can say, look, I'd like to meet the recruiter for this job. And if you're daring enough to do that, and we can build throttles on this, so it only shows that maybe to 3 or 4 people a week, or if you're a really great match and you say, look, I'm okay letting up to 5 candidates a week schedule their interview right away. Boom, we're just showing your calendar program as a part of the integrated experience that lives right on top of your current system.
So I already see so much value here, even as an early adopter in this new ecosystem that you're building, right? Immediate value to my candidates coming to my site, to my company. I'm capturing better data. I'm interacting with my candidates in a much more, intelligent and strategic way. But as this ecosystem builds, you get data. Can you
Oh
tell
man.
me more about the data that I start to see as a company that will start to give me maybe some insights on why ghosting's happening, or why people are beating me to the punch? How fast do I need to move to be able to be competitive in my space? Tell me some about that data.
Yep, yep. So again, we can use the candidate consented data to have them opt in. They agree to your terms of service, but they're also linking to you, right, Jason? And so now we can literally on the first visit personalize the experience, get them into matches, get recommendations, kind of pre-qualify before you apply, which then delivers the recruiters and hiring managers a greater asset. But we also allow you to now start with your career site visitors, not just people who apply, but the 90% who don't. You get visibility and engageability with those candidates. We're delivering all that data into your existing APIs to your CRM for pre-apply and your ATS for post-apply. But what's really great, Jason, is the candidate, just like they have a LinkedIn profile, they now have a Match to Universal profile. They also are linking to me. So when they connect to me and compliantly connect to their records in my system, this is where the candidate, if anybody's used a Google Doc and you've shared access to somebody, that's kind of what this is. But then I also am starting to use this application to optimize my application, and my application is like a personal ATS of all the companies that I'm applying to. Now, guess what I've done? I've moved into multidimensional chess, because a lot of us, when we get applicants, we can only see what they're doing in my process. But when I'm connected to them via Match 2, I now start to have this closed loop interactive system where the candidate and I are interacting and engaging with each other using the direct talent network. The other thing candidates can do, Jason, is they can pre-validate and pre-certify themselves. So a part of what we're going to be adding is this ability to let the candidates do this. So on the first visit, I know this is a real candidate. I know they have real certifications and great recommendations, and all of that shows up inside of my system as well.
But if I'm a candidate, I don't want you knowing the other companies I applied at and all that kind of information.
Yeah,
Tell me
that's a
about that.
great point. So we never rat out a candidate, right? We let the candidates communicate to you, even on the first visit, that, hey, maybe I'm already I got an offer from another company. So it's no different than if a candidate applied and they said, hey, I'm applying to your job, but just so you know, I've applied to four others and I'm at the offer stage. But nobody has systematized this, Jason, and actually made it a part of the captured candidate and connected candidate. They might do it on the front end, but if maybe it takes 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and during that 3 or 4 weeks, candidates are applying to other people, they're progressing in their job search across the market. All they're doing, Jason, is updating their current status, not where they're applying, but that they're progressing in the system. And so our ability to keep the employers updated on that kind of information while they're progressing is what now allows us to keep track of every candidate that's touching us and is now talking to other people. So it's not unlike how Google Analytics knows, hey, this consumer visited Amazon and then went to Macy's and then went to J.C. Penney. But for the first time, we have this ability to share this data with you, which can even allow you to understand, like, how is my recruiting process working against any of the other companies in the market? So I can say, hey, for my nurses, how is our time to interview, our time to offer, our time to hire? Are we competing? Are we lagging? And so I think a lot of us try to infer or think about this, but we actually give you really hard data, which is coming out of all of the candidate behavior that's happening on their side of the fence.
That's just fantastic. It closes such a gap that I always assumed, right? When that huge portion of our candidate ghosting is because they've accepted another job someplace and we don't know. And to have that signal that they've accepted another job and to go, we just didn't move fast enough, right? Versus, we made them an offer and they rejected it. So to be able to start to rationalize why we're having a ghosting of candidates and then be able to action upon that is amazing data.
It is. Yep.
Mostly as a recruiting leader, where you're trying to drive behavioral change in your hiring managers and create a sense of urgency. If you can show them these are the reasons why you need to be urgent, look at the data that I have to show you. I would use that to beat managers over the head all day
Yeah,
long to get
exactly.
them to change.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, because we're doing the matching stuff, you can literally go rec by rec and see what requirements of a rec did candidates match right away. Which requirements did they have to change in order to true up? And then which requirements did they apply with they didn't have, right?
That's the other interesting thing too, because also often recruiting would like to move upstream where you say you're asking for too much. We have what's legally required or
Mhm.
legislatively or whatever required, but then you have the aspirational requirement of the hiring manager. And if I could tell them, well, if you drop that aspiration to here, our quality rate or our match rate would go up X%, that data in itself too would just be enormous.
That's exactly right. And even when you're doing like I headhunted for 8 years, Jason, and I can't tell I probably at least half the time when I would have an employer say, "Hey, I'm trying to fill these two jobs," and I would say, "Well, I've got a candidate that can fill 50% of this one and 50% of that one. So if you guys can just switch this job around and let the candidate drive the design of what is going to fill these jobs, that would be a very powerful thing." And I think we're going to see that coming more at a system level instead of just here's a rec, I got to fill it, or here's a person, what do they fit or what do they not fit, right? So, and by the way, Jason, what's great is we do exit surveys. So just like when you take an Uber, hey, how was your Uber ride? When candidates say, I took a job, I found my perfect thing, I'm going to Target, I'm going to be a product manager, we ask the candidate, awesome. Why'd you go with them instead of the other company? So we get a little survey piece from the candidates, which is great. And we also ask the companies, like, what was it like to interview and go through the process with people so we can get that data. But what's great about what we can also give you real time is like exactly why are we losing people at a job level in the market? Was it benefits? Was it comp? And if it was comp, how are our offers actually competing against some of the other companies in the market? So we can give you like real time visibility to what's happening there as well. So, all right,
So
Jason, in for a landing. Give us your
yeah,
closing thoughts.
I mean, what I like about this is like I said, works for every size organization. So it doesn't really matter. It's a simple piece of code in your tech stack, APIs that can all be set up, and almost everybody has a open APIs that you can build to. We are now the signal to noise ratio is something we can actually act on. We get to see all this stuff right away. We get the interactivity of the career site. We absolutely love the fact that you're making it. I'm not having to try to redo my search and redo filters and everything else. You're getting me there right away, and really providing that experience that the candidates have become to expect because they're getting this from the market that they buy in. And the insights, as this builds, the insights that you're going to be able to see immediately in your against you and your competitors is pretty amazing. And the fact that all those insights are coming from the candidate, they're choosing to share them with us. So again, keeping those legal hawks at bay because I've eaten enough antacid. I don't need any more now. So I mean, and if there's any one thing here, I think that showing the candidate what's happening, keeping the candidate informed and happy of how AI is helping them is so huge. And keeping legal, we've kind of blocked off all the legitimate legal concerns with this and married those things together in a way that just provides immense value.
Yeah, I think the amazing part of this is by letting the candidates actually participate and connect for the first time, we're solving the two-sided problem, which unfolds all kinds of new experiences that aren't constrained by platforms and version releases and all of the other. The candidates now can actually visit our site, get the new experience that's consistent across all of them, and then we have persistent data. I mean, every company I go to, they're like, I got to fill this rec. I got to fill this rec. What candidates are in the market? Oh, I got 30. Oh, let me fill it today. And then they kind of flush everyone else down the toilet. This forces long-term connected relationship recruiting that allows your candidates and you to have persistent connectivity over time.
The other thing that I love about this, I'm sitting here thinking about in the healthcare world, where often we have acquisitions and different brands and different systems. You could actually span this across multiple CRMs, ATSs, everything, and unify it in one and provide a real unified experience.
That's exactly right. The beauty of this is it's a single interface that can take feeds from multiple different systems, Jason, to give you a single doorway that your candidates can go through while still redeploying or redirecting the candidate back to the system of origin. So we've got several customers that have this situation, or even if they're going through a transition process from one ATS to another, there's a lot of the
Absolutely.
times where in flight, I need to be able to simulcast data, and this would be able to facilitate that as
I
well.
had four running at one time at HCA as we were making transitions. So
Yep. And a lot of the questions we get too, Jason, are like, hey, I love this for my new candidates, but what about the 600,000 people that have applied over the last year? Their data is dying in my system every day. Well, we have several companies that just will run a campaign to those candidates and say, hey, look, thanks for applying to us in the past. We've got a new matching and connection system that we're launching. So just like you used Apply with LinkedIn or Apply with your Indeed, instead of now Indeed and LinkedIn owning those candidates, what happens is you say, come back, upload your resume. Hey, you might even find a great job, but now have a connected data relationship that's directly between you and me. And now all of a sudden you have that living connected data relationship with those candidates. So you can move them from static records to linked records with a single campaign.
Absolutely amazing.
So look, I think there's lots of benefits right away. Like we've seen immediate massive drops in candidate noise. The bots don't know how to do this new interactive matching process. So a lot of the fake and bot problems go away really quickly, which frees up your recruiters amazingly to know that every candidate's applying for the very best job for them is like an amazing coin sorting machine that we've just never seen on ATS systems, which is really good. And then saving your recruiters time both for doing manual reviews of candidates, but also chasing off market candidates provides new efficiencies as well. And of course, now with this system, you buy people once and you're connected forever. So I don't have to keep rebuying and hoping that people are going to get re-engaged over time, which increases the ROI of the existing ATS, the existing CRM, if not breathing life into it and making it finally function the way that it should.
Well, and that's so unique, mostly in healthcare, because it's so common that somebody is a nurse when they're 22 and they're a nurse when they're 56.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
many other people, they don't stick in a career that whole time, but it's a very honorable thing to be a clinician for your whole life.
that's
And
right.
so those people are so usable.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're coming in for a landing here. If you guys would like to know more, especially what's beautiful about this, Jason asked me, like, how long does this take? And I'm like, well, technologically, I can literally have somebody live in a day if we wanted to. But we know that you've got, you know, the proctology exam, compliance related things. The good news is we're compliant with most of that stuff and can actually help you get through a lot of that, especially with a compliant AI story. Or if you can't use AI at all, we actually even have a way that you can utilize some of this technology while keeping the AI outside of your walls so that you can get the benefit of it without, just like you do with Indeed today and LinkedIn. So there's ways we can do that. But look, we can create a demo site, which we do all the time for companies. We basically take a copy of your career site, but then show you all of the new things that you can do and you can play with. We can even use your jobs so that you want to upload some sample candidates and see what their new experience would have been. We have the ability to do that. So you can literally get a playground site. Going live is easy. We give you a script. You give us 2 API keys that activates the entire process, which typically you don't have to go, even bring your IT groups through a whole bunch of processes or Q&A or anything unless they're curious about how this works. But just like when you gave Indeed your job feed and started getting Indeed applies, you didn't have to bring people through this onerous process. And our deployment is very similar to that. But we have this ability to turn on connect with technology that could literally allow you to see and engage with 80% more of your career site visitors. And the cost for this, because everyone's, how much does it cost? It's dimes instead of dollars. And that's what's beautiful, right? I mean, sometimes, I don't know, Jason, do you remember what your cost per applicant was back in your days?
Oh, wow. Yeah. And when you got
55,
into the nursing space and stuff, it was expensive. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then even when you cost per qualified candidate, it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, and
So,
even then, qualified candidate was we're trying to infer quality by how far they got through. We didn't really know, right? So,
yeah. Yeah, so look, this is a very affordable technology and it's very easy to activate, but it's also something that I don't know what someone would pay to know that every data point in their systems is up to date. I'm first to know when the great hard to fill candidates are on or off the market. I'm saving my recruiters half their time. Like there's so many ROI benefits to what can happen when you actually connect and bring this together. So I'm easily findable on LinkedIn. I don't know if Jason, you want people bugging you unless they've got questions, but
absolutely. Anybody
yeah.
wants to reach out, feel free. I'm always happy to, as you can see, I'm happy to talk. So,
Awesome. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time today. And we hope that this new kind of candidate first model is something you'll consider for your organization. And if you are, we're here to activate it for you. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.